So, Stafford County, have I got some news for you? There is a definitive chance that your taxes might be going up. And it's unfortunate that it's not your fault, but it's the fault of your government. And your government is corrupt, and I'm going to prove it on this website now that I have called StaffordCountyFraud.com, which you have come to. The Board of Supervisors is involved. Eric Olson's office is involved. Stafford County Police are involved, the local magistrate. The apartment complexes known now as Ultras at Courthouse, which is right up by the police station, is involved. Used to be known as Venator, used to be known as Aventine, and a bunch of other names. They change hands every few years. And it's also being caused by an apartment complex across from the rescue squad up on Route 1 going to Quantico called the Point at Stafford under Morgan Properties. Now, it's going to take a little while, so you need to watch this video, and there's going to be others that break this down and explain in greater detail what exactly is going on. But the gist of it is that I have had apartment problems, and the apartment problems have become legal problems that are not my legal problems because of, oh, and I forgot to mention the courts. The courts and their clerks are totally corrupt in Stafford County, and as well as Bill Howell, he's part of this, and Tommy Normant down in James City. And I'm not just saying this. I have proof of these matters right here, and I'm going to demonstrate them to you. And the Fredericksburg City Police are not helpful either. They are also part of this matter. So there's going to be a massive civil suit, or it's going to be a massive civil settlement one way or the other. And these apartment complexes and these government entities are going to make up for what they've done to me and to my wife. And you'll say, well, what happened? Well, let me just give you a little overview of what's going on right now. Today is June 30th, 2016, and I have been, with my wife, have been homeless since December 20th, when we moved out of the Point at Stafford. And we are homeless because somebody at a crooked judge, a crooked attorney, Bob Harris out in Manassas, and crooked apartments have, Ultras in particular, have breached a contract and engaged themselves in conspiracy to commit fraud. And it's profound how here in this state where we're supposed to be the founders of the United States of America, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the Declaration, it doesn't mean anything to anybody in Stafford County's government. They don't give one iota. And it's about time to clear them all out. There's going to be a lot of firings from this right here, and I think there's some potential for some people to go to jail. But getting back to what's going on, so my wife and I are living in a hotel, and it's because an apartment complex reneged on a contract, and a crooked judge awarded the crooked apartment judgment against me when they had no right to. And I'm going to explain that in just a minute. We're coming to that. But again, this site is much more than this one video, and really right now I'm just trying to get things started. So you need to come back to this site because you're going to have a lot of questions, and I'm going to have a lot of answers. I'm going to have documents, FOIAs, non-responses to FOIAs, fraudulent billing, pictures, long discussions and descriptions of events that took place. And every single person I've talked to so far about what we suffered through has just, they can't even believe it. They're just stunned out of their minds. So, so again, we're living in a hotel. We've been there since December, not of our free will. And during this time, I can't tell you how hard it is to live in a hotel in a 10 by 20. We're paying $1,900 a month. We're paying $1,550 roughly per month to be in a 10 by 20. We have a 2-burner stove and a full-size fridge. I work at a very well-known financial institution in Washington, D.C. I have access to databases where tens of millions of dollars in loans are distributed around the world to a bunch of frauds, really, but that's a separate point. I do IT support for people who have PhDs and other high-level positions and things, and so my wife washes my button-down shirts and my khaki pants in a bucket in this hotel and hangs them on a shower rod, and that's how we get by. And I commute 120 miles a day from Fredericksburg up to D.C. So I generally wake up about 4:20 and I get back about 5 o'clock, roughly, something like that. But in this past time that we've been in this hotel, we've been prisoners of and it's not our fault, and I'm going to explain here in a minute. We didn't have a Christmas, we didn't have New Year's, we didn't have a 4th of July, and I think the most devastating part of all is that these people have wrung us out so far by their fraud and their crooked behaviors that we've had no money to help my wife and her family. My wife's family is in the Philippines, and her father died about 2 months ago. She could not fly to the Philippines. She couldn't even send any money for the funeral or flowers or anything. Totally paralyzed because of the fraud right here in Stafford County. Now, I'd like to make sure that the county residents here understand. I love this place because this is the only place in Northern Virginia where people are restrained, where they have discipline and are friendly, but are hard as nails if something went wrong. You know, you could rely on folks around here to do things right. I really, really like the residents of Stafford County. But the government is totally corrupt. Totally. And the police, there's going to be a major crisis here, and this business of, everybody's talking about Black Lives Matter and shoot a police and all that stuff, that has nothing to do with what's going on here. This has been done of their own volition, and they have done it of their own knowledge and intention. They're working with the courts, and they're totally corrupt. And so let me go ahead and get right down to the gist of it. What you're about to hear is a gist of about 2 years of suffering, roughly. You're not going to get all the details because I need to make more, detailed videos, and I need to, post the documents, and so you can see what's really going on. So, we had lived here before around 2010 in Stafford. We moved to Charlottesville, and I took a job there, and it blew up in my face. And so eventually we moved back here in September 2013. We took an apartment, a two-bedroom top floor over at what used to be Aventine, which is now called Ultras. They claim to be luxury apartments. And so we're paying, I think, $1,245, something like that. $1,295, I think it was, almost $1,300 for that apartment, for just 2 bedrooms, way out here in Stafford. And it's just continual inspections, continual repairs, tiles coming up, the Congolium square tiles coming off the floor, or the washer dryer beating my clothes, beating holes in them, putting burn marks on my white clothes and things like that. Just really shoddy for supposedly luxury apartments. But what was really too much was the stench, because there was an island sink here, and then on this side there's a stove and a fridge and a nook. And so you go in like this and come around, and there's sheetrock on this side. It's because you wash your dishes over here, and then back over on the other side is the dining and the living room. And so the sink disposal, they call it a Sinkerator in there, that's a brand, was just pouring out stench, and it was just too much, especially for some reason like on a Saturday morning. It was the worst. So get up about 8 o'clock or something. So I put a ticket in March of 2013. Excuse me, March of 2014. Not 2013. 2013, September we moved in. March of 2014, put it in. And instead of hiring a plumber from somewhere between Fredericksburg and Leesburg, in Alexandria, some plumber in this area, Northern Virginia, they brought a plumber called Rain and Son from Hyattsville, Maryland. And they came down there and knocked a hole in the wall right here with a hammer. That's about a 6x12 right there. So that's March 2014. They didn't fix the stink, didn't fix the hole, so March, April, May, June. 4 months. No fix. No fix at all. So then we're supposed to get 60-day notice for renewal on the lease. The lease was a 9-monther. And so that would put September to July, the middle of July. And so June 17th, I got a phone call, and I have the record in my documents, I'll post it up, of getting a call at 1 p.m. to come down and sign a new contract. I go down there, there's some Hooters girls sitting there. I said, when are you going to fix the hole? When are you going to fix the hole? She said, put in a ticket. Their people knocked the hole in the wall and came in that apartment 10 times between March, well, pretty much the month of March, and didn't come back at all after that. And I said, okay, give me that contract. So we took it upstairs. I took it upstairs to my wife. We signed it. Now keep in mind, folks, if any of you had any kind of business law or any kind of experience in doing contracts, you know there's the invitation offer and there's acceptance. They called me. That's on my phone record. We came down. We took the contract. We accepted it. We turned it in and signed it. Signed it and turned it in, and that was it. So we gave it to them, and I said, I'm going to sue you. And so the next day I put a letter in, and I said, I'm putting this money in escrow. The next day after that, they reneged on the contract. So I went down there to talk to this woman named Shannon Welch. I asked her, what seems to be the problem? Why are you not fixing this right here? Why are you trying to renege on the contract in this retaliation right here? Then we got around to the point, and I said, whomever put that hole, let me just do this. Whomever put this hole in my wall is a clown. And Shannon Welch threatened me, and she said, you say clown one more time, and I'm going to call security. Call them. Call security and tell them that I called them. So she brought in deputy from the sheriff's department, Deputy Merville. Merville comes in. He doesn't go upstairs to see the hole in the wall. He doesn't check anything. He comes in, and he and Shannon give me a no trespass order to the apartment. We still have another month on the lease itself, on the original lease, from June 17th to about July 16th, somewhere in that range. We have another month. It gives me a no trespass office to the trespass order to the office. How do you do that? You can't no trespass me when I'm renting the place. And what do you no trespass about? Because you're reneging on a contract that you called me down to sign, and I signed it, and now you're retaliating because of this? Well, turns out in 55-248.39, look it up, 55-248.39 of the Virginia Landlord-Tenant Act, it says that you cannot retaliate against a renter for health issues. This is sewage gas coming out of the sinkerator up here, and it was supposed to be fixed in March. This is June. This is the middle of June. That was the beginning of March. So really we're talking 4.5 months. So then when July comes along, July 3rd, and I have the picture, the script, the copy, you'll see. I paid the rent at the new rate, which was a split month, on July 3rd. So they sit on the check for 10 days. And I finally called them up and I said, either you cash this check or I'm going to put a stop payment on it. So then they gave me back the check, and that's why I have it. And it's in evidence. It's in the evidence box over here at in the General District Court at Stafford. So it's no mystery about it. People can go down and ask for copies all day, and I would encourage the media, go. Ask for the case of Ken Grider versus Venator Aventine. Not Ultras, but there was another name, Optio. That's it. Look up Optio. It's there for December 2014. So anyway, a few weeks later, here comes one of the repair guys, and he stands in there in our apartment, and you'll see the video. It's posted on the site. And he's doing like this with his phone the whole time, and he brings in two illegals. They don't speak a lick of English. They're not employees of the apartment. They are the cousins of an employee. Now, folks, seriously, right here in Stafford at the Wells Fargo bank, there's a female that I met, and I'm seeing her lately. But I got to talking with her about a year ago about this matter, and I said something about putting up sheetrock, and she said, oh yeah, I can do that. A banker, probably in her late 20s, somewhere around that age, a female, knows how to cut out sheetrock and put it in there, install it, and tape it up and spackle and go on. But instead, they bring in these two illegals, and they put a washcloth down on the floor, and you'll see in the video, they put it down on the floor, and then you use the sheetrock tape where you put the two sheets of panels of sheetrock together, and you tape down. They tape across, then they spackle, then they paint and walk out, and they claim that's a fix. All you do is poke your finger and it's gone again in this massive hole. You see how big this hole is. This scale right here. This number right here, which you can't see, where my finger is here at the top, that's a 12 right there at the top. So we're talking essentially 11 inches, and that's about, what, 5 or 6 inches across like that? And you got to come in here with one of those $8.99 knives you get down to Home Depot and cut that out right to the stringers. So you have half of a stringer right here that you can put the sheetrock back on, and screw it in or nail it in, and then tape it and put it back. I know you people are saying, I don't need all that detail, because you know what I'm talking about. I know. Everybody knows except for them. Not even using their own employees, hiring illegals to come in and put in sheetrock. But don't do it. They tape it over. So then, July, August, September, October goes by. Not a sound. No eviction, no nothing. Then suddenly this Bob Harris guy comes out of thin air at the end of October and what gives us an unlawful detainer and says he wants the rent from October to the December court date. So I called the court and I said, well, these are one and the same case. We're not doing two cases where this guy is trying to get me thrown out, evicted, before my case is heard. He's trying to usurp the entire judicial process. And I said, that's not going to wash. No. These are the same case. So that's the Thursday right there in 2014 around Halloween, right there on that last week. Friday, I get some funny feeling. I call again and say, you sure about that? Yeah. Talk to the clerk. Yeah, it's all fine. Monday, I get a call from the clerk and said, it's been changed. They're separating the cases. I said, who made that decision? I have to ask the clerk 3 times. And she turns around and threatens me and says she's going to hang up the phone after the second time. I said, I'm not playing with you. You don't have the right to do this. Now, who did this? And then she said, well, I guess I did. And I was like, oh, okay. So now the clerk of the court is setting the docket. I have to take an unpaid day of work off just to go to court and recombine the cases. And then I asked the judge, I said, who split these cases like this? Who did this? And he said, I did. I said, well, she said she did. So which one of you is lying? And see, there starts the corruption. Not to mention this clearly ex parte communication going on with the court. I wasn't informed about any kind of business like this of separating the cases or any decisions by the judge. How in the world did the cases get separated? Because it's one and the same. How did he not know this? Totally corrupt. So then we get to court. No, just before we get to court. And the sinkerator finally erupts. And there is water and mold from one end to the other underneath that sink. So then they have to come and replace the sinkerator. So from September 2013 all the way out to about November 2014, over a year, 14 months, I got to put up with that stink from that sinkerator. That's a health issue, and that's against the law. So I go to court. And just to put it in sum total, because this is the short video, I lost. And at the end of the trial, when Charles Foley says, okay, I've heard enough, I'm going to make my decision, then Bob Harris walks up to the court and starts talking with the court after the trial's been declared over. That is called ex parte communication, which is illegal. And I filed a complaint against Bob Harris at the Virginia bar, and they said, it's just tactics. It's not tactics, it's ex parte communication, which is illegal. So then Foley rules against us. After all the pictures and all of the evidence and everything, we always paid the rent. They rejected it. So they didn't give us an eviction notice. Nothing. It was totally illegal. The reneging on the contract was totally illegal. But here's the catch. Foley, in his genius, said that the contract is invalid. So now he's enjoined himself with Bob Harris and Shannon Welch in the apartment complex with fraud. So now he's essentially in a conspiracy to commit contract fraud. He's joined himself with it. A judge is now engaged in fraud against me. They called me and asked me to sign a contract. I signed a contract, they accepted it, and we went out. They reneged because I said I was putting the money in escrow because they refused to fix this hole for 4.5 months. You can't retaliate. Dot 39 of the code doesn't allow it in the Virginia Landlord-Tenant Act. It's not negotiable, and the facts are clear. So he says the contract's invalid, but then he turns around and says, but you owe all the rent from July to the court date at the new rent rate. Based on what? If I go to court and I want money out of somebody, I get 2 ways to get it out of you. I can get you on a contract that you reneged on some case or something wrong with the contract, or I can get you on punitive damages. But the contract has to have been valid and in place. It has to be legal. Well, he already said in writing there is no contract. So what are you collecting on? You don't have any means by which to collect. So after the trial, we don't have any place to go. So we got to go to a hotel. So we're in the Value Place Hotel for a few days, for about a week. So we spend Christmas in a hotel in 2014. So then, in February of 2015, they tried to put us in collection for $8,000. Some collection company up in Fairfax. I'll put the documents out there. And then the home office in Atlanta. All that I've told you and more, plus the video of these illegals, which is out on YouTube, of this being fixed, taped over, gave it to them, sent it on DVD. They wrote a letter back. They said, we're not going to collect, and said, we're taking the mark off your credit record. So I have a mark on my credit record from the judgment, but I don't have a mark from the collection agency. Now, folks, come on, let's be serious. If you have a $200 phone bill or something you haven't paid, and a collection agency gets on your backside, guess how many times they're going to call you? Every day. They call you as often as they can. They don't care. They're not shy. They'll call you all they can. It's no big deal to them. Collections agency is not shy. And $8,000? And they're not going to collect it? In writing, people. So, shortly after that, we stumbled onto a point at Stafford. And so we signed a contract. We walked through the place. We're kind of like, yeah, we see this. We see this. Okay, we'll take it. A 2-bedroom up on Route 1, right across from the rescue squad. And so as we're moving in, somewhere around the 1st of January, there is, I flushed the toilet. I'm using the toilet, so I'm moving the furniture in from the U-Haul. And the toilet erupts, and the water's just run all over the floor. So as I'm moving in, I have to do an emergency call. The apartment wasn't made. They didn't do anything in the apartment. They didn't make the apartment ready. They didn't prepare it, didn't clean it up, didn't do anything. They just threw it at us. So that's a contract violation right off the top. But we move in and we got our stuff settled down, and it's like, what in the world is that stench? And we look out on the deck, and it turns out that there is, let's see if I can get this picture out real quick, because I got it in here. There's dog feces ground into the deck boards. This is not mud, because mud doesn't stink. That's dog shit, people, in the deck of the apartment when we moved in. We put up with that. They didn't compensate us for not having the apartment ready for the days we put up with that mess, and they did some half-baked job. The apartment is the stinkiest place I ever lived in. The carpet smelled some days like garbage juice, sometimes it smelled like pet urine, sometimes it smelled like feces in that place. It was unbelievable in the living room. It's the stinkiest place I ever lived in. It was just profound. But the thing that was really bad, worse than that I suppose, was in the bedroom. Then you have going here to the, what do you call it, the closet and the bathroom tied together. And there was a smoker downstairs. He would turn on the fan and the vents go straight through to the roof. And the smoke would come through. And the smoke, I don't know what kind. My grandfather smoked 2 packs of Camels all the years I knew him. And it didn't smell like that. I know what that smells like, or say Marlboro or some other brand. I don't know what these cigarettes were, but they're the stinkiest cigarettes I ever, or whatever he was smoking. It wasn't weed. They weren't smoking drugs or something like that, but it's the stinkiest thing I ever smelled. And it triggered my gag reflex, and it smoked out all my clothes. We put up with that from January to October of last year, of 2015. And I told them, you got to move these people out. We're not going to keep taking this crap. And they had, the washer dryer didn't work right. We had the door fell apart in the bathroom. It started coming apart. We had problems with the dishwasher, spilled out water all over the floor one time. The countertops started coming up. So in October, I complained, and somebody from the home office, which is King of Prussia, called me up, I should say, and I have the number. It's now disconnected, by the way. A 610 number. Called me up and tried to force me to end the contract and leave October 1st. Again, Dot 39 of the Landlord-Tenant Act doesn't allow you to do that. You won't move these people out down here from the smoke. You try to make us move out. That's illegal. So I said, okay. So early October, I filed a lawsuit, and I had to get the billing separated for the trash and water and the rent. And so I went up to the office, and Terry Kirby tries to trick me into going into her back office. Now, how dumb is that when you got bad relations and a woman wants you to come in her back office alone? Oh, no, not going to happen. No. So I stood with my back to that door frame right there at the main door of the office. And there were other people in there, and Teresa Baker sitting there. So, and by the way, Teresa Baker, to show you what kind of people they got working at this place, Teresa Baker has no respect for the law. From January 2015 to October 2015, she had this car right here. You can't see that very easily, but those are Kentucky plates. She was tax fraud right here, not paying taxes, purposely avoiding paying property taxes by having Kentucky tags on the car so she could avoid the property tax. And oh, yes, of course, you see the picture, that means I turned her in, and she had to pay back taxes and penalties. That's right. So anyway, in that, I think it was a Saturday, the first Saturday in October, I go in, and Terry's in there, and so she goes and gets the figures and comes out, and I write a check, and then I said, by the way, I want to tell you something. First of all, because you had put a note on my door asking me for renter's insurance proof, when I gave it to you in January, I have a feeling that you're trying to commit fraud by using my renter's insurance to take care of those countertops I complained about that are coming apart at the seams because of your mismanagement of this property. And I've alerted my apartment, renter's insurance company that you may be trying to commit fraud. And so now, as soon as I say that, she turns around to Teresa and tells Teresa to call the police on me. And see, that goes to show you the tight relationship between the Stafford County Police and these apartment complexes, because by the way, folks, Stafford County Police get discounts on their rent if they decide to live in these apartment complexes in Stafford County. That right there is, what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? It's not fraud, but it's you're tainting the judgment of the police right there, because then they get to use the police as thugs, just like they did over at Venator or Ultras or whatever you want to call that place now at Courthouse Apartments. Same thing. They're there to protect the apartments because they're getting free or discounted rent. So they get their salary, and then they get cheap. They get to do this on the side, and then they get a part-time job as well to get paid. So they get part-time job, rent discount, and then they get they get their regular job. So then I said, I'm not finished. And I said, I want to tell you something else. I have filed a lawsuit, and I'm putting all the rent money in escrow. Now she's shouting at me, and I'm already going out the door and starting heading down the steps. And she's yelling at me, and I'm all the way off the steps, off the sidewalk, and in the parking lot, and she's still out on the porch now, following me, yelling me. You see, turn that around and let a guy try to do that to a woman. Instant arrest. Gone. Bring the police, you're gone. Intimidation and harassment. You're under arrest for harassment. You're gone. And that liar who should be disbarred, Bob Harris, has the audacity to accuse me of shouting and cursing. No, I did not. What I did was I told her that I was not going to allow her to commit fraud, and then she blew up. And she was already angry about, she's already trying to get me in a corner and trying to trap me into something so she could use it against me. Good job. So we went to court, and I put all the money in escrow, October, November, December, in the court. The lease ended on December 26th. Okay? So we go to court, and I won, just to cut to the point. So out of the about $3,000 plus of the rent, I got $385, and then there was about $2,700 left. So Bob Harris wouldn't even talk to me after the trial, because I said, "Are you going to?" I tried to ask him right after the trial was over. I said, "You going to appeal or not?" And he told me to get away from him. Okay, you're not going to talk to me, fine. So, and I went to trial, attorney pro se. So of course he's livid. So then, what is it? After the fact, on February 1st, well, but prior to February 1st, after the 10-day waiting period, I get my check and I cashed it. And then I know from the General District Court on February 1st that they cashed the check for $2,700. The clerks told me. They checked their bank account and their statement. So I know they cashed the $2,700 check on February 1st. And they cast it down here at Stafford. Not at King of Prussia. The check went to Stafford. So that's where, that's where it went. It was cashed on that day. So then, on the 6th, I got a bill from the apartment for all of the rent from October through December. They just cashed $2,700 check, and they sent me a bill for the rent. Then they put me in collection with a company down in Texas, a collection company, and they added more charges to it. And they even had the audacity to acknowledge the $385 and subtracted it off. And then still wanted to stiff me for nearly somewhere around $3,000 or so. I have the sheet. I'll post it up. So I contacted the collection agency, and they said, well, you have to prove it to us. I tell you what I'm going to prove to you. You're going to stop this crap right now and get your facts straight, or I'm going to flat sue you as you live and breathe right there. So make my day. Go for it. Eventually they dropped it, but it didn't drop that until somewhere around April. The collection and wrote a letter. Oh, so-and-so made a mistake. They didn't make a mistake. There's no mistake here. This was intentional. It's, again, retaliation. So when I got the bill on the 6th from my P.O. box, because, again, we're living in a hotel this whole time. Because when we got out, you see, what happened is, I've left out a salient point here. On the first thing, when they marked my record with a court mark, saying that in the first apartment, not the, appointed Stafford, but with the Ultras Venator courthouse apartments, when they did that to my record with the court mark, not, because there's no collection, then nobody around here, we found out last December, nobody at all will rent to us. Can't rent a house, can't rent an apartment, so we're stuck in a hotel at $1,900 a month. When we had been paying $1,100 in rent. My credit is totally screwed. That's another problem. That is hurting my job prospects. That's hurting my ability to pay my bills and stuff. It's hurting me when I apply for, have applied for places to live. My credit is a total disaster. So, the point is that, so on the 6th, when I got that bill, it's like, okay, what in the world is this? Why am I getting a bill here? Because I had contacted the 610 number in King of Prussia, and I asked for, where's my $150 deposit back? Because every dollar counts. And so instead I get a bill. And so I go down to Point at Stafford, and I walk in the office, and Terry's in there, Terry Kirby. She got 2 renters or prospects or whatever. They're sitting there talking. So I go off, and they're sitting over here. I stand over here, and I'm standing like this. And they talk, and they talk, and they talk. And I was like, good lands. So I walk on out the door, and I wait for them to come on out. And there was no greetings or any kind of talk. There's nothing going on over here. Nothing happened. So when they come out, I go back up to go back in and find out what is the bill about. And I have the bill. And the... well, I'll come back to that in a minute. I'll post the bill. I was going to walk over and get my documents and give it to you. But anyway, I was going to ask her what the bill was about. Why are you billing me after you've already cashed the escrow check? I won the lawsuit. You didn't appeal it, so it's over. So why are you billing me? But there was no discussion. There was nothing. No words were said. So then the following week, on the 13th, I wrote out 2 letters. And this is the Porter Library right here. So what I did was I wrote them on the system over here. One of them says to Morgan Properties, get off my neck because I don't owe you anything and you better stop this harassment. And number 2 is I want my $150. So I faxed them. Right over here, there's 2 fax machines. I faxed them to 610 because on the bill there's a 610 fax number. I faxed them to 610 up in King of Prussia. And So a few days, so then, that was on the 13th, on that Saturday. I didn't go down, so I took the 2 documents after I faxed them, and then I folded them up, and I made copies, and I put them, this was like 5:30 or 6 or something, because I stayed here, I was making videos and stuff, just like I'm doing now. And there's, you know, those little brass flip boxes, mailboxes, rent box, that's what it is. I dropped it off there and out the door. Oh, out the door, what am I saying? I was already, that's on the porch on the outside of the building. You go up to the doors right here, and it's on the porch on the right side. So I dropped it in there and went on down the road. So I didn't see anybody that day. So a few days later, the Fredericksburg police come to my hotel, I think it was a Thursday night in February, and arrested me for trespassing. And they said these events took place between the 6th and the 13th. And I said, who is arresting? What is this about? Which property are you talking about? They wouldn't tell me who. And I asked them multiple times, and they cornered me and my wife in that hotel room. And one of the guys, whose name I don't have in front of me, is a forensic tech. So that means that person is an investigator. And I said, you see these documents, this bill, this collection, this summary, this judgment right here? This is the judgment from the court. This is the check, $385. This is retaliation. I didn't trespass on anything, and they still owe me $150. So what are you talking about? There's been no trespass order or anything given to me or spoken to me. What are you talking about? And they said, if you don't sign this, we're taking you with us. So I, at 10 o'clock that night, on a work night, had to drive all the way to the Stafford County Police Office. And I had to go in there to the Cisco phone and call for them to bring an officer around and have them explain to me who was making the complaint. Because the 2 officers, no Miranda rights, no nothing, no investigation. Doesn't this sound familiar? Yes, it does. Deputy Merville, no investigation. Why is it you're issuing me a no trespass order on the previous apartment with this? Not getting your facts straight. Oh, by the way, why are you involving yourself in a civil matter? Uh-oh. What crime was committed? Uh-oh, now you got a problem. Harassment by a police officer, false complaints, making false statements to the police by Shannon Welch. That's a doggone shame. That's a crime, actually, folks. Check the Virginia Code. And then, and it's a crime both by the police and by the complainer. Why'd you not check this out? And the police coming to me in this hotel room now, this year, in February, why didn't you get your facts straight? Fredericksburg Police. So I go, like I say, 10 o'clock at night, I go up in there, and the police say, it says Terry Kirby. Oh, Terry Kirby is complaining, saying something went down. No description of what went on. So I have to go to court. And they have this arraignment. I'm standing up there in line with these orange suits. You believe this crap? I mean, it's really something. Here I served as a student missionary to Japan back in my college days, and now I'm being charged with trespassing by a liar and a fraud, a crook. People who give me an apartment with dog feces in it. And by the way, while I got your attention on this matter, I'm going to go through a few pictures. This is a dog feces picture. And this is a trash bag on the property of Morgan Properties. And this right here is dog poop in the grass from the apartment. And you can see the window is coming apart. And here's a close-up of that window coming apart. And then here's a hole in the parking lot right there. And that hole right there, we parked to the side of it and just parked over the line. They had us towed, saying we violated their policies. Here they didn't even maintain the property. And then when we moved out and we pulled the curtains back, this is just one picture, and this is just one window in one corner, actually. This is not all of them. Mold, folks. Mold. Isn't that beautiful? Mold. So, sorry about this. This is a good one right here. This is apropos. My wife has just sent me a text message saying she's ordered migraine medicine, costing an arm and leg for this stuff. Costs $17 a pill because of the stress right here. So anyway, so now I've been arrested, and I go to the arraignment in court. And there's Judge Strickland, and I say, "Do you know what you're being charged with?" I said, "No idea." So I'm arraigned in court, but I don't even know what the charge is. Oh, trespass. So trespass what? When? Where? So then he says, "Oh, well, you go around to the side here to the clerk's office, and then you'll get a copy of the magistrate's order." Oh, that's great. So now I've waited a month to find out even what the charges are. So I get this document. It's going to be posted. And the document says, it has 4 mentions in there. One of them is, you were told that the lease was not going to be renewed on December 29th. The lease not renewed is not a no trespass order. That's a lease not renewed, number 1. Number 2, lease not renewed December 29th. It's December 26th is when the lease ended. Number 3, that document, actually, I know that document. It was given, it's dated October 5th of 2015. The lease ended December 26th, 2015. We had 2.5 more months on the lease. You can't give, or you can't claim a document in writing is a no trespass order when you're still living there and got 2.5 more months on the lease. That's not a no trespass order. That's ridiculous. Number 2, she says that I trespassed, that she told me not to come on the property on January 2nd. Ha ha! I didn't meet Terry Kirby on January 2nd, 2016. I didn't do that. I didn't meet anybody. I wasn't even down there. February 6th, I already mentioned. Terry Kirby's in there. She's talking to these people. We don't talk to each other at all. I walk out the door. I wait for her to finish. I go in. She's locked the door. She didn't tell me anything. Then she says she told me on February 13th. I didn't go in the premises. I didn't go in the door. I was there after hours, and I dropped off the 2 letters that I had already faxed to 610 to give 2 copies there. And she's saying she told me, you have to see the person. You have to be in the presence of the person to tell them something. So then I go to court on the 15th, and they bring in a judge who was nearly impeached in Powhatan County, Beasley, Robert Beasley. Look him up, Judge Robert Beasley, on the Richmond Times-Dispatch, and look up McAkin and Tommy Normant, and look up Bill Howell. Bill Howell blocked him because Beasley is a Republican, Eric Olson is a Republican, Bill Howell's a Republican. And I used to vote Republican, but as of this year, I'm not voting anymore, because I'm tired of this fraudulent crap. And let me digress for a second with the Board of Supervisors. I told the Whitewater representative, whose name eludes me now for some reason. He's originally from Ohio. He sits on the board. I told him about the things going on, and I said, why is it we have no protections in the county for these health issues? Why weren't these things done? And he said, hey, yeah, we discussed this years ago, and the public opposed it. And I said, which public? You mean the property owners? And he laughed in my face about it. So I did a FOIA, and I found out that from 07 to 09 there was a task force, and Paul Mild III was on that task force, and they chose not to protect this county with at least 1 property inspector. A building inspector is somebody who goes out and checks your building when you're constructing things. A property inspector is for health issues. No, they won't do it. So the county is negligent. They have put me in this box, and they're protecting the property owners because they can't raise any money with the kind of living there is around here. The property taxes are higher than here than they are in Prince William and Spotsylvania County. And look what kind of services they get and what you get here. Look at the way it's living. Look at the road at Garrisonville Road. It's torn to smithereens. Look at the road right there in front of Colonial Forge High School, torn to smithereens. Is it so expensive? Instead of putting these little flags out here, that Stafford County history and cement and all this other crap, why don't you go down there and get a paving machine and clear out that 100 yards of raw road down there in front of Colonial Forge? No. Instead, you got to pave your own parking lot right there at the courthouse, and then put up that brick wall around the courthouse and make nice. Yeah, bunch of crooks. And then have oil paintings of yourself hanging on the wall at taxpayer expense. You people think you're like some kind of British royalty, and you're just waiting for Pocahontas to come skipping by again so you can kidnap her again. What a load. Anyway, so I have to go to court to be tried for trespassing in front of Beasley, who was nearly impeached, and only Bill Howe blocked him. So Beasley comes in, and then suddenly Brian Fitzgerald, who's working under Erica Olson, is standing, and he says, I want to talk to him. So we go in this back room, and he says, I want to drop the charges and then enter in a peace bond. And then you stand in front of the judge and sign a no trespass order. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You have to have a no trespass order before you arrest somebody for no trespassing. That's the law. You have a written trespass order before, not after the fact. It doesn't work that way. So again, see how corrupt this county is? I said, no way, get away from me. So I go and sit back on the bench in the room. Here he comes hobbling in. And he does it again. And he says, you should sign this. You don't understand. You don't have an attorney. Hey, don't lecture me. He goes back. So he and Terry Kirby and Bob Harris are in this back room. But there's one more. It turns out that I have found out from a first sergeant within the police department that Michael Reyna, a deputy, was the only deputy assigned to court that day. And so he went back in the room with them and was in the room on their behalf. And then thirdly, he comes out third time around to me, and he, in uniform with sidearms, tries to coerce me into their agreement. A armed deputy in the courtroom after the judge has been seated, and there's just a little sidebar here, tries to coerce me, and in fact is suborning perjury, because he's saying you're dropping the charges if you'll sign a peace bond. And why the peace bond? Because the $150, and with the false arrest, that's a civil lawsuit. But if I sign a peace bond with them, then I can't find a civil lawsuit because everything's already been settled. So they're trying to block me from my civil rights or civil ability to file a lawsuit against the police, against the county, and against these apartments here, particularly Morgan Properties. And then in exchange, they keep the $150, and then everything goes away, and it goes on my record. Yeah, subornation of perjury by court officers, and Beasley doesn't know about it. Oh gosh. How stupid do I seem? The whole thing was a setup. And my motion to quash, totally ignored. No evidence. So we go through the trial. And in the middle, Terry's up on the stand, and she can't remember the dates. And so I said, well, that's it. It's over. And the judge says, no. So this guy, Fitzgerald, is given by Beasley. Beasley says, oh, it's 1,000 years. It's a tradition to remind the witness of their charges. Oh, that's good. You go all the way down to the magistrate and make false charges against me under oath, which is perjury, and then now you can't even remember what you were saying. So then Fitzgerald takes it up to her, and she starts babbling again. Remember now, on the document there's the non-renewal of the lease. Then there's January 2nd, February 6th, February 13th. But notice, ladies and gentlemen, that the warrant of arrest was from the 6th to the 13th, and the magistrate's complaint don't match. Oh, isn't that special? So, he takes it up there, and she gets mixed up. And then she starts saying, she said, I told you not to trespass on January 3rd, 2015. We were moving in around that time. Her complaint was January 2nd, 2016. She then starts to talk about dates in January. She can't even remember February. She starts talking about January. So then I said, I want to question this person on the law right here. And I have the quote from the statute. I have it printed out. Judge blocks me from asking her about where's the written document and where's the oral document and about the law. He blocks me from questioning the witness. So now it's a full-on conspiracy, full-on racket right here, blocking me from questioning about the law. What am I being tried on? On the law. I can't question the plaintiff on the law? Oh. So then I present my case, then I'm up on the stand for cross by Fitzgerald, and Fitzgerald starts asking me, he said, well, when were you on the property in January? The complaint is February. I already told you. January, I've already said. I wasn't there. I've got the library form where I was in this room. It shows you right here. Then in the morning I was at the hotel because I worked January 1st at my job in D.C. because it's a 24/7 IT shop up there. But January 2nd I was taking a rest because I got no holiday. Living in a hotel. And so then he's trying to question me on dates, 2 dates, he says. What dates were you in January? And I said, so they have stationed a police officer. They brought in 4 extra police in that place and had Deputy Early standing right beside me the whole time, over at my desk and over here, right here, holding me down. They were not assigned by First Sergeant because I know. So I need to get up from my desk and go over from the stand and go over and get the document that shows the dates and shows the shows the date on the magistrate's complaint that she wrote out. He's blocking me, won't let me go get the document. And then Beasley up here says, if you don't answer his question, I'm going to dismiss all of your evidence and all your testimony. I'm going to render a ruling right now. So, you were trying to charge me on something that didn't even take place. January didn't take place. And you're trying to say, when was I on the property? And you're not even... The warrant doesn't even mention January because you didn't get that right. And then the magistrate's order has the January 2nd. I already just got finished testifying and gave the evidence. I wasn't even there on the property. And so now you're trying to question me about January. So the judge rules that I'm not credible. This person comes up, Terry Kirby, lies. She gives a document that is a non-lease renewal, which, by the way, is against, again, the .39. You can't retaliate on people and say, I'm not going to renew leases because somebody's complaining about health issues. You can't do it. And so I get convicted of trespassing. So that day, I come back down to this library and I write a document. And I fax from here to 610 in King of Prussia for my $150. April 15th this year, 2016. April 19th, 2 times at work on my cell phone, I get a call from Deputy Brandon Reed of the Sheriff's Department. He's down at Point at Stafford, and he's asking me, why did I send a document to Point at Stafford? And it's like, I don't know what you're talking about because I faxed directly and nobody knew. Even my wife didn't know that I faxed from here at Porter's Library, fax straight to 610 area code at King of Prussia to Morgan Properties home office. And I said, I want my $150 back. I'm not playing around. How did that document get down here in Stafford? How? So I sent in a FOIA, and Captain Kimmets ignored my request on page 1 at the bottom when I said, who did this? And here's the time call and unknown number, everything, the date and time and everything. I said, who did this? He wrote back and said, we don't have enough information. We don't know what the date and time is. It's going to be posted. You'll see. All the FOIAs and stuff, one after another. So I go down there, I call up Kimmets and I said, I want to meet you. So I went down to the office, to the police station, and there they put a police officer in a corner hiding to record me. Some guy about 6'3" in there, some old man hiding in uniform, recording. I said, what are you doing over there? You recording me? And I said, why is it that your deputy called me up twice when I'm trying to get my $150? You tell me what the crime is. Once again, this is a civil matter, $150 that I'm owed. We're way past the 45 days. From December 26th out 45 days. We're way past now. That's my money. And for all you people who say, never mind the $150, just stop it, okay? It's not about the $150. The $150 is not what the hair trigger is. The hair trigger here is that they billed me and put me in collection after they cashed the escrow check and lost the lawsuit. That's what the essence is right here. And then made false accusations and had me arrested. False arrest and involving the whole county. But here's the catch. So Brandon Reed. So I said, why is it, who is this person? Because this is about, let's see, July 5th. I'm talking to, in the office right there, this year, July 5th of, with what do you call it? And by the way, I had a hearing, a pretrial hearing, because now I appealed to circuit for August 24th. Actually, it was July 27th, but there's another crooked move these people pulled. So anyway, so July 5th, I called for a hearing. I said, summary dismissal. There is no evidence here. And everybody who touches this case is suborning perjury. No, they won't dismiss it. And I said, I want to further add that on April 19th, I get these calls right here, and you people are trying to, no, that's what I said in court. I said that you don't have any charges against me because there is no trespass order. I found the document right here, and this document right here is a non-renewal of a lease. It was October 5th, so there is no trespass order. So this whole thing is perjury, because it was sworn under oath in front of the magistrate, so it's all perjury. So I go over here, and I'm talking with Kimmets on the same day, on the 5th, in the after I go for the hearing. They won't dismiss it. Crooked judge, Justice Willis, Judge Willis, Victoria Willis is crooked. She tried to deny me a jury trial by saying it would cost too much. Can you believe that? The Constitution guarantees me on appeal a jury trial, and she tried to block me. The only reason she didn't block me is because the public defender held up a piece of paper and said, I think there's something open on the schedule, but can I ask you a question about this? And because of her not representing me, but just said that as an end around, the judge was forced to give me a jury. Even during the July 18th hearing, she turned around and said, well, if you lose, prejudicial, if you lose, you have to pay for the jury. She's already judged the case. It's over. So that's going to be a Department of Justice complaint that I'm writing out. That's going out. But that's how crooked Willis is. She's just as crooked as the rest of them. So, going back to July 5th, though. So I'm talking to Captain Kimmets, and I said, why is it that a police officer, why is it you not tell me who this police officer is, and why do they call me up? And he stops and don't want to hear it. He said, that's a civil matter. I said, that's the point. It's exactly right. It's $150 owed from a deposit. Why are your police officers calling me when I sent a fax from Porter Library, and here's the document, and here's the page, it shows the time and stamp, so it's going to be posted, shows that I sent it up there, and you have that copy. Why is that? Why are your police harassing me, and who did this? So Kimmett sits on his hands for 5 solid days. He can't answer. He doesn't answer the question right there, and he's already said it's just a civil matter. I said, well, there you go. So then, when he answers the FOIA after the 3rd time, he says it's Brandon Reed. But then he says, I can't tell you who filed the complaint because it's a criminal investigation. Oh, ho, ho, ho. So now the police of Stafford County, all the way at the captain's level. You've got Merville, you've got Rayna, you've got Brandon Reed, you've got Kimmets, all covering up criminal activity. Harassment by police on behalf of apartment complexes that are giving me sewage gas, holes in my wall, dog feces, mold, and you are covering up for these people because it's your little tax base. If they don't pay their taxes or do something stupid, then you don't get paid as police officers. And that's why the Board of Supervisors between 07 and 09 refused to put a property inspector in this county. You're all crooked. Well, now you kind of see why your taxes are going to go up, most likely. Because I'm going to file a civil suit, and it's going to be against Ultras and against the police and against the courts and against the attorney, the Commonwealth's attorney, against this government. Oh, yes, I am. And if you think that the county and the state are not suable as individuals, I don't have to do it at this level. I can do it at the federal level. And I can work you over with the Supremacy Clause. And the apartments, the magistrate, you're all corrupt. And Fredericksburg Police. So here I am having to go to trial for something that never occurred. Terry Kirby didn't speak to me between December 1st and the trial date of April 15th. We didn't speak to each other at all. There were no words exchanged. So the 3 statements of where she told me not to trespass, let's get something straight right here. I already said that the Venator case, I got a no trespass order. So I know what no trespass looks like. And I'll tell you something else. I got another one time when Foley was standing over the case at Venator. Foley was also in Warrenton, and I had a case before him years ago when I was starting a business, and Klaus Fuchsel, Doc Klaus, had a brick and mortar, and I was trying to start my own little break fix, and so I was in negotiations with a guy out in the Midwest who was trying to extort me for $700 for a domain I wanted. He was a domain taster. He could take it in for 5 days, and he was abusing the icon rule. So he dropped the domain, and Klaus Fuchsel picked it up while I was trying to still work with this guy. I didn't know about that 5-day rule. I'd already put signs on the side of the road. Klaus Fuchsel already had his company, Doc Klaus. My name was Pleasant PC because I want people to have a pleasant experience with the computer. Well, I put signs out. Klaus found the domain, registered it, and cyber squatted on it. I sued him, and Foley gave my domain to Klaus Fuchsel, who cyber squatted on it, squatted on my domain for 2 years. Well, I appealed to circuit, and I had some documents, some preliminary documents to give to their attorney, so I went to their law firm on the main street right there in Warrenton, and I went up and just delivered them, dropped them off, and I said, here's some documents. And they gave me a no trespass order to come in the building to even deliver documents. It's like, okay, that's a new one on me. So I mean, it's just retaliation. Let's cut the crap. You steal my domain so I can't compete in your same little small town and do a break fix because you're afraid of losing your business, and probably afraid of me doing a better job than you, because people complained a lot about Doc, about the way he fixed things. Some guy came up to me one day when I was protesting in front of the courthouse with a sign. He came up to me and said, yeah, Doc fixed my laptop and he charged me $350. In 2010, you could have bought one for $500 or $600 or $700. I mean, you're halfway there, and that's a fix. Tearing out the motherboard or something like that. It's crazy. You know, it's just ripping people off. So, and I had no intentions of building a brick and mortar. My intention was to do on-site work. Just call me up and I come over for about $35 and I fix something for you. And a lot of people, they need somebody kind. They can't stand the arrogance or the meanness of the IT people, and you got to be nice to them. And having taught English in Japan and having worked in the church in Nagasaki, student missionary, I understand what it is. What people want. They want to fix, and they want to. It's almost like having a cat. They want to get in your lap, and you got to stroke the cat a little bit, and the next thing you know, everybody's happy, and that's the joy. Seeing people succeed. Man, you can't beat that. The dollars pay the bills, pay the lights and all that other stuff, vacation, something like that, and groceries. But seeing people when they're so happy, when you did something for them like that, you can't put a price on that. That's something you did. You get to carry that with you. It never expires. It never runs out. It's that thing you did in your life. It's something you get to carry with you instead of being carried by a Corvette or, big house or, arrogance and all that. So anyway, so most likely, folks, your taxes going up. There's a good chance of it. I can't say for sure, but there's going to be a heavy lawsuit on this. I promise. I'm not going down for this. And now, thank goodness that Judge Foley has. And what, by the way, with Foley was over here. Foley's the same one that gave a Venator Optio Ultras all the rent. And then reneged on the contract. It's the same Foley. He's the one who gave my domain to my competitor, who cyber squatted on for 2 years, and then he comes over here and reneges on a contract in conspiracy with these frauds, and with this this after this right here, after sewage gas and this right here, they renege on a contract, and he rubber stamps it and then damages my credit so that I can't rent anything. And I've been living in a hotel with my wife. And my wife's, like I say, my father-in-law died 2 months ago in the Philippines, and we couldn't do anything. We're prisoners of somebody else's fraud here in this county. That's not going to stand, and I'm not going to, and I'll tell you something else, by the way. This Morgan Properties down here, just 2 years ago, and I'll post this, Mitchell Morgan entered into a partnership with a Saudi company, and they bought apartments in Maryland, D.C., and Virginia. That Saudi company invested $309 million in Mitchell Morgan's properties. Saudis.
You remember the Saudis. They are the good old boys that were in the last 28 pages of the 9/11 report that have been implicated in 9/11. The Saudis. Yeah, that's a good one. The home of bin Laden. Yeah, I know bin Laden was Yemen descent. I get it. But it came out of Saudi Arabia. And, Mitchell Morgan is in bed with the Saudis to slumlord around here. This is what you get for $309 million. Mold, dog feces, and dog poop in the yard. And holes in the parking lot. Yeah. And ghetto living with the months and months. That wasn't just a random shot. That's been there for months, with screens and crap falling out like that. That kind of picture actually almost looks like a break-in. I mean, somebody pulled that thing back. Take a look at that. Look, they got the feel of a break-in right there. Don't know if it was, but it's just, why would a screen be pulled back? Why would a screen be damaged that high up? I mean, look at this thing. Look at that cement wall right there. Look how high you got to get up. Is that this person going in or coming out? Maybe they were going out. Maybe they're just trying to get out for some reason. They were trying to sneak out in the night. Maybe that's all it was. No big deal. But folks, I mean, seriously, this is America. We're right up here in D.C. I mean, we're right just beneath Quantico with this mold right here. Isn't that tasty? Makes you want to get your spoon out and scoop that mess right up, Yes, sir. You like a little dog shit on your deck? And then you accuse me of trespassing? And then you bill me for 3 months of rent? And then you put me in collection? You think this is a game? And then you call the police on me and accuse me of a crime on April 19th? And the people up there in King of Prussia won't pay my $150? Maybe you think the FBI, calling the FBI is funny. Or maybe those attorney generals from 4 states that I've contacted for your fraudulent billing. Or maybe you think the DOJ is going to see this as funny. You judges over there, you crooked judges in the courts, you crooked clerks, you crooked police, you crooked board of supervisors, you crooked apartment owners, slumlords. You think I'm going to lay down for this? You are way off the mark. This county's going to pay for that. And it's a shame because the county and the residents don't deserve this. These people ought to pay out of their own pockets. They ought to have their pension stripped. They should be fired on the spot, and their own personal assets should be seized, including Mitchell, including Ultras Apartments, including these individuals in this county, and Eric Olson should be impeached immediately. Crook, subordination of perjury by judges in the courtroom. Me sign a no trespass order in front of Beasley after I've been charged with trespassing in exchange for a peace bond so you can block me from filing civil lawsuits. Yeah. What a country we have. Here it is, the state of Virginia. The founders. Bill of Rights. Constitution. Declaration of Independence. And all of the founders in this state. Richard Henry Lee. George Mason. James Madison. George Washington. Thomas Jefferson. And the craziest of them all, Patrick Henry. Right here, the founders of who we are. And this is what we've become. This is what we've descended into. You think you can come and arrest me in a hotel. You can corner me in a hotel. You can damage my credit and nearly put me in the street and cause me severe health issues where I have severe pains in my bone down here in this area on a daily basis. Something very serious, and I can't go to the doctor. And I'm almost out of money. and I'm paying $1,900 a month to live in a hotel because of what you did. And then you send, and even after all of that, after you evict me, after you then go down here and you retaliate with this dog shit in this second apartment, and I'm living in a hotel, and then you send the police to arrest me. You don't quit, do you? Well, neither do I. And I'm coming after all of you in civil court. And you people are going to pay for this, for what you did to me. I am Ken Grider. And what you did to me and what you've done to my wife is going to come back to you in a court of law. You can count on it.